Hey everyone, thanks for attending my session. Um, my name is Max Rudman. I am the founder of Steelbrick, which was acquired by Salesforce in 2016 and has become Salesforce CPQ in billing. I led the Salesforce CPQ product team for the first couple of years, and I recently joined Prodly. So Prodly is a reference data management solution. As I like to say, I'm fixing some of the problems in my second company that I created with the first. We have actually almost 80 enterprise customers now, and we're a Salesforce IEC partner, and I'll have a couple of slides at the end to tell you more about what we're doing. So a quick agenda. So what I'm going to do here is share, I don't know if they're really secrets, but certainly share best practices and my tips for achieving success with CPQ and quote to cash. So we'll talk about, we kind of have these broken out in these sections, right, along the journey. So evaluate, plan, implement, manage. I'll tell you quickly about Prodly, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. So just a quick audience poll before we start. How many are you evaluating CPQ? Okay, very good. How many are implementing? Nice. And how many are live on CPQ? All right, we've got a few. And I assume all the hands that went up who are live, you're going to be contemplating enhancements and updates. Very good. So, excellent. So, evaluate. So I guess I know we're at a Salesforce event here. You probably all, obviously you're all Salesforce customers, but I'm going to, play it fair and pretend like you're actually looking at some other CPQ potentially other than Salesforce CPQ. So, so how should you think about it? Well, I mean, I assume you're all invested in the Salesforce platform here, right? At least the Sales Cloud part of it. So obviously the robust integration with your CRM is important. There's a couple of different approaches. So there's what Salesforce call composite apps, which are built in their own cloud or off Salesforce platform that connect to Salesforce through the APIs. And there are ones that are like Salesforce, like Steelbrick was, that are built obviously native on Salesforce platform. And there are some advantages and disadvantages to each. So I think the other thing you want to consider as you're looking at CPQ, even for the native CPQ solutions, there is a different degree of nativeness, if you will, right? So you want to look at how tightly does it integrate with the Salesforce data model. So things like standard objects, like product, like asset, like contract that exist in Salesforce CRM, and you can potentially be either using now or using down the road. If you deploy Service Cloud, for example, it becomes important, right? You don't want your CPQ solution to have its own asset objects, and then all of your, service reps now you have to sync the two tables together. So configuration versus customization. Obviously, consider the out-of-the-box functionality, right? And you want it to be flexible, but not too flexible, right? There are some solutions that are basically toolkits, and you can make them do whatever you want. I personally don't think that's a great idea. What you want is you want a box that's big, but you want the box to be there, so it forces you to down a certain path, and hopefully that path works for your business. Implementation. So is it declaratively configured? Is it configured with clicks and code? Or is it configured programmatically? Obviously, the former is better, right? But depending on your business, you may need to have some programmatic customization. So just understanding, where you're going to land and what your business is like and how much of your requirements are addressed by out-of-the-box functionality is an important consideration for evaluating your CPQ solution. So obviously, it's somewhat a function of the former, but a functional fit, right? So think about the use cases, right? Are you a SaaS software company, or are you an industrial manufacturer? Typically, CPQ solutions, they'll say they'll work for everyone, right? But as you start to kind of look under the hood, you'll see that, the functionality is typically designed for certain types of use cases, right? So, at Steelbrick, and of course now Salesforce, our sweet spot is, high tech, particularly SaaS software companies. We have built-in support for subscriptions and, generating contracts out of them. Whereas, if you're configuring, a power plant, that's far more heavily weighed towards configurator, right? So there you probably Salesforce CPQ is probably not a good fit for you, and you may look for other for other solutions that are potentially off platform. Um, also, what's your industry? SaaS, high tech, right? Manufacturing, media, FinServ. So consider that as you make your selection, and how well the solution that you're considering fits into that industry. Maybe get some references. And get some independent validation. So the analysts are great. The Gartners, the Forresters, right? CPQ is a big category now. It's covered by all the major analyst firms. So get their reports. The problem with them is, you know, they update it once a year, A, at best, and B, in my experience, they're a little stuck in the past, and they still think of CPQ as mostly configurator focused. So peer reviews like the App Exchange, the G2, Capteris of this world is a great way to get real-time peer reviews. And they actually tell you whether users are in your industry or not, and what they're trying to do, and whether it actually fits your use case. So it's a much more dynamic source of input. So pick the right implementation partner. I strongly discourage you, unless you've done a couple of these, to do self-implementation. This is complex, so find an SI partner. Um, the trick here is to find the right expertise. So just because someone has done, 1,000 Sales Cloud implementations, does not qualify them to do CPQ, unfortunately, right? So obviously, it's all Salesforce now. We're all big Ohana, but CPQ is complex, and experience really, really matters. So find the partner, i.e. the firm, and actually also the team, that they make sure you demand the team that's put on your account that actually has experience implementing CPQ, not just Salesforce or some other cloud in Salesforce. Make sure your partner's in the right segment, right? If you're a big enterprise customer with with, I don't know, tens of thousands of users, I mean, you're probably going to break a small boutique firm just in terms of, the demands that your project puts on them. A model that I saw work well here is do sort of a hybrid. Maybe get a boutique firm with expertise to be sort of the solution architect, and then, get your big global SI, the Accentures, the Deloittes of this world, to be the hands on the keyboard to actually configure it. Of course, if you're a smaller company, just go with a smaller boutique firm. They'll be able to do the job. So let's move on to plan. So my biggest advice here is, don't lift and shift. A CPQ, and particularly quote cash project, is, I think, one of your best chances, if not the best chance at business transformation. If you think about it, it involves constituents from almost every part of the company. You have your executive buy-in. So don't blow this chance and just, repeat what you're doing previously in Excel or in your prior CPQ solution. Because, technology by itself is rarely the answer. So, if you're lifting and shifting, you're likely to, it's likely to result in the same outcomes that you're trying to fix. So really take this opportunity to reconsider your business processes and do some business process re-engineering. Take advantage of CPQ. This is a problem I've seen all over and over again, right? So you're coming from Excel, or you're coming from legacy system that, for example, doesn't do contracts. It doesn't have a notion of time, right? So your support SKU is 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right? So what you end up having is actually 3 different SKUs: one for 1 year, one for 2 year, one for 3 year. But guess what? CPQ, certainly every modern CPQ, has dynamic pricing capability, so they can actually price it automatically. You don't need to create a separate SKU for every term. You can just have the system calculate it automatically for you. And that significantly reduces the SKU proliferation problem that I've seen over and over again. Same thing with bundling and kitting, right? Configurator is not just for heavy duty, massive bill of material configuration or highly technical products. the light-ish configurator that comes with Salesforce CPQ is fantastic for creating solutions very quickly, creating flexible bundles, doing them on the fly or fixed. So use that functionality to again cut on the number of SKUs in your catalog. Um, and then same with the attribute-based pricing, right? So it's sort of a flavor on the support term, but you know every modern CPQ has attribute-based pricing capabilities, so which can potentially result in a dramatically smaller product catalog in terms of SKUs. The other big problem I see all the time is this price book proliferation. Again, in the absence of CPQ, like you would have, a price book for every one of your partners, or a price book for every one of your, regions or customers potentially. And certainly Salesforce CPQ has built-in functionality to address it with, custom prices that captures customer-specific prices, with dynamic pricing capabilities that can automatically extend a discount to the partner based on the product category and the level of partner. So you don't need to create a separate price book for every one of them. Um, so this is a big one. Set expectations, right? Like CPQ and quota cash. It's a journey. The go live is not the end; it's the beginning. So focus on low-hanging fruit to deliver quick ROI and keep the executive buy-in. Under promise, over deliver. And I've seen many projects fail because of unrealistic expectations. It's not a silver bullet. Change management is obviously hugely important. Make sure you get a rollout plan in place. Think through how you're going to deploy it. If you're a large organization, it's very common. It makes a lot of sense to sort of do maybe one division at a time or one geo at a time. So technology is the easy part, right? That's aligning people and processes. That's difficult. So put some thought into it. So the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your requirements will drive 80% of the outcomes. So prioritize, ruthlessly. Um, you know, Guard against scope creep, and don't chase the total automation. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been at a customer. They're like, "Oh, we want to do a 50,000 line quote." Like, why? Well, we have 5 transactions a year that are 50,000 lines. And I'm like, okay, how many transactions do you do in a year? 20,000. All right, so you want to do 5 transactions that are, out of 20,000. Like, just do it in Excel. Here's an idea, right? Like, it'll be okay. And the problem here, of course, is, by chasing, you really get diminishing returns at the long tail of it. And so by, pursuing that last, 1 or 2% of automation, you're actually going to screw it up for the other 98% of transactions and make it slower, make it more complicated, make it more complex. So stay inside the box, right? Complexity is usually manufactured. Certainly, I know we put a lot of thought in the design of features, right? If it works this way, it's probably, hopefully, designed for a reason. And, if you talk to a product manager and they get a blank, give you a blank stare when you talk about a requirement, well, they haven't seen it before. Well, that should tell you something. Maybe you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So consider changing your process. I think this is an obvious one, right? Go agile. Do your 2-week, 3-week sprints, whatever. Shorten time to value. Get feedback sooner. We had. I won't name the customer, a very large semiconductor company, Silicon Valley, that was on a 3-month project, 4-month project. Then they finally got their users involved in UAT, and they said, no, we don't like it. Okay, great. So automate your deployments. So manual deployments, discourage agility, right? So I'm talking about sort of moving early configuration data from between sandboxes and onto production eventually. And make sure this automation covers both metadata, right, code data model, as well as reference data, which is all the configuration, all the rules, the prices, the templates, right, that drive the CPQ. That's actually kind of like metadata, but it's stored as data most of the time. So in terms of managing, so develop a roadmap, right? So paint a vision, paint a compelling vision. but then to keep your stakeholders excited and engaged, but then obviously, divide and conquer and don't try to boil the ocean and deliver in small chunks. Again, I think kind of, you know, doing it by use case or by division or by geo is a good way to go. So engage other teams, right? So don't become the bottleneck, whether you're the IT team or the sales ops team, right? Um, get other people involved. Get your product management involved. Get your business analysts involved, right? I know it's not as as simple as we'd like it to be, and that's what I'm working on fixing with my new company. But still, it's a huge step forward from legacy CPQ where it was all coded, right? At least there's a lot of declaratively configured functionality. So take advantage of it and broaden access to your CPQ to more teams and users within your company, and now engender sense of ownership and uh, provide stake and success. So let me tell you quickly just a couple of slides on Prodly. So as I said, we're about making life of administrators who are charged with maintaining and implementing CPQ solutions and other complex apps on Salesforce platform easier. Our first product automates deployment of reference data, so all the configuration data, moving it between sandbox to production. Some of you have probably experienced it, I imagine. It's actually a very obscure but a very acute problem. Once you do it, it takes like 2 days of manual, tedious, error-prone labor to do it. So we completely automate that, make it 3-click, a 20-minute process. But our bigger vision is to provide a comprehensive solution to business agility. To make it even easier for your admins and other users to create reference data, deploy it, release it, and analyze it. So it's really an admin cloud we're working on, if you will. So you can learn more about us. We have a booth out just outside the Reefscape Theater down in the expo hall. So come visit us, get a demo, or go to prodly.co, not com.co, to learn more about us. And so I'm also put on my email address here. So if you guys want a copy of the presentation and want to reach out to me, have some questions, don't hesitate to email me. And now I'll open up for questions and answers. Questions, anybody? I know you gotta have questions. No questions. Well, that's good. So maybe CPQ is not that hard after all. Okay. Well, oh yeah, we have a question.
I have a question, but it's for everybody. Will you go search on Idea Exchange and look for CPQ debug and upvote it? CPQ debug.
Debug. Okay. Yeah. The question was, if you didn't hear it, or the plea was to go vote idea for a debugging functionality for CPQ and upvote it. But I tell you, that actually might be something we'll be working on. So I assume you're talking about like price rules when you're developing price rules, just and the calculator. Yep. Anybody else? You have any other requests for functionality? There you go.
There was a session yesterday on the JavaScript plugin, bringing the pricing information to third-party system. Is there any comprehensive documentation?
Yeah, I think I'll repeat the question. There was a session yesterday. I think it was about doing custom configurators. Was that it? Is that what you're talking about?
With the pricing, yeah.
Oh, the pricing. Okay, so CPQ has a number of customization points. So one of them is quote calculator plugin, which is the way you customize the pricing engine. Another is you can do your own custom configurators. So I think there was actually a couple of sessions yesterday. There was one on how to build your own custom configurator. But you're asking about the pricing plugin. So is there any documentation? Yeah, there should be. So I'm out of Salesforce now, so kind of not my problem. But I think there is. I think there is a documentation. So if you need help locating it, we can put you in touch with somebody. But and I mean, I know it's been sort of a problem traditionally, but it's getting better and better. Salesforce is putting a lot of resources behind the product, so documentation is one of the areas they're fixing aggressively. So it should be on. I assume it's on. Ben, do you know? Is it on help.salesforce.com? Yeah, it just says try searching on help. So it's called quote QCP, quote calculator plugin. Let's search for that. All right. Assuming no one has any other questions, I think it's a wrap. Oh, all right. Two for two.
Yeah. Um, so when you want to create a price rule to populate a field, will Prodly help populate those fields retroactively so that
Can you give me an example?
so I'm live in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I realize I need a particular field populated given the price rule, and what may calculate would be different than what's populated in that field
You're
previously.
talking about populating a field on transactional data on quotes. Um, no, I mean we don't really populate fields, so you can certainly move transactional data with Prodly, but it's really meant for reference data. And in any case, if you move it, I mean it's not going to create the values. It's just they'll expect them to be somewhere. Um, but that's a good idea for, like as I said, we're going to be investing in the admin tools to make it even easier for you guys to manage CPQ in particularly. So I think it's a great idea for that, for an admin tool. So. Ping me actually. I'd like to learn more about what your use case is, and I think we can fix it for you. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day here at TDX. Come see us at the booth, and as I said, don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions or ask for help. Thank you.